Uh, so while we are waiting, let's look at some of the fun facts and tips and tricks. So on your NetSuite page, if you go to your top left corner and double click, you'll see that we can see a current view of how your system is performing and have a look if there's any lag or any slowness, and you can check your system performance through there. There's another shortcuts for dates. So any of your date fields, if you want to just quickly add in today's date, you can just type in T and it will bring up today's date. For yesterday, you can key in Y and M will bring up the last day of the month. So just a few small shortcuts to ease up your life in NetSuite. Okay, welcome everyone to VNMT's webinar on NetSuite items setup and fundamentals. So I'm Bhavijay. I'll be the presenter for the day. So VNMT Solutions is a NetSuite trusted and Celigo partner. We have been helping businesses simplify operations through tailored ERP and integrated solutions. We were founded in 2017 in Australia with a growing presence in India, US, and we support organizations across industries, including e-commerce, retail, healthcare, and manufacturing, and many more industries as well. We assist businesses with NetSuite licensing, implementation, integrations, customizations, and day-to-day support, ensuring every stage of the ERP journey is aligned with their operational needs. Now, we have with hands-on experience across multiple industries, including supply chain, warehousing, automation, and complex integrations, our team focuses on delivering practical, scalable solutions and improving visibility and support long-term growth for your organizations. Now, let's look at the agenda for today. Today, we are going to first look at different item types available in NetSuite, and then do a deep dive on the item record itself, see how an item is created. Then we'll move on to inventory movements and adjustments, see what those transactions do in NetSuite. And then we'll have a look at the reports natively available related to items and inventory. Then we'll look at some of the best practices, and then we'll open up this floor for your questions. So in today's session, what we are going to do is we'll keep your questions at the end of our session, and any queries you do ask in between, will answer all your queries at the end. So don't feel that we are ignoring you or not taking up your queries, but we'll do that at the end of the session once we are completed with the whole webinar. So let's look at items. So what is an item? So item is pretty much a core record in NetSuite used in pretty much all your transactions. So it's anything your businesses sells or purchases or charges your customer for. So there are multiple types of items available in NetSuite. One of the more simplest or basic is your inventory item. Inventory items are anything you want to keep track of their quantity whenever you purchase or sell those items. Now they have got two subtypes as well. One is lot numbered and another is serialized item. Now lot numbered items are something like your medicine batches, your food items. So something you want to keep track of the lot as well as their quantity. So when they expire a particular lot, how it goes into when are you fulfilling it or which lot number are you fulfilling. So you want to keep track of those. So you create those as lot numbered items, and another is serialized item. So something akin to your electronics or your mobile phones. So each and individual item has a unique serial number, and you want to track those serial numbers as well. You create those as serialized inventory items. Now, though lot numbered and serialized items are useful in increasing your tracking, but they also increase your process. So whenever you receive a lot numbered or serial item, you need to mention the lot number or the individual serial numbers of all the items that you receive. And similarly, when you fulfill those items, you also need to mention those, that what are the lot numbers from which you are fulfilling that item. And similarly for serialized item, each unit serial number needs to be mentioned, when you're fulfilling those items. So more trackability, more view, but it increases your process as well. Next up are some of your assemblies, group, and kit items. Now, what item groups are simply a bunch of things that you buy together, and you want to include that selection for your sales team to add in directly on your sales order in one go. You create those as item groups. Now, those are basic items, individual items. The component do not keep their own inventory. And similarly, when you fulfill those, individual inventory items get reduced. So there's no difference in uh, adding those items individually or adding the same group item in one go. Or next up is a kit item. Kit items are similar to group items, but a minor change is that you can include a different sales sales account for your kit items as well. So you can change your pricing for your kit items. So when you sell those items, the pricing can be included separately. It's not dependent on your component items. Next up are assembly items. Assembly items would be something you build or is a group. So pretty much something like your furniture that you have assembled or a laptop which you have completed with including multiple component items to bring together a single inventory item. Now, assembly items have their own inventory. They consume your individual components inventory and create a new item when an assembly is created. So they maintain their own inventory and can be tracked completely separately. So their COGS account is separate. All their inventory asset accounts are different, and you can track those more visibly over there. Next up are your non-inventory service and other charge item. These are non-inventory items or items you do not want to track their inventory of. You do not care how much you have purchased or how much quantity you are selling. You just want to keep track of the quantum of the amount you have done. So something similar to your packaging materials, so or service items are items something like the time and expenses you provide for services like repairing charges or something like consultation charges. And other charge items would be something akin to one-time payments that your customer pays to you or you pay to your vendor. Something similar to, let's say, your warranty or any other charge you incur on your customers or you have incurred. Next up are your discount items, markup items, and payment items. Now, discount item you create in NetSuite to add any discount on any preceding line in your transaction. So let's say you create an item called a phone that is going slowly, you want to increase its sales and you want to give a partial discount for a particular customer, you can add a discount item at the end of it in the transaction itself, and it will apply the discount on any item preceding it. Similar would be a markup items that increases the price of any preceding item before that. And payment items would be any items that you create to include in any charges or any upfront payment that you've received from your customer that you want to add on your invoice instead of creating a payment transaction directly. So something akin to upfront down payment or prepayment that your customer has paid to you. So next, let's look at the different how you can create an item in NetSuite. So I'm going to switch to my NetSuite. Give me a sec. Can you guys see my NetSuite screen?
Yep.
So to access your items, you go to lists, accounting, and items. This will open up your item list. To create a new item, you can go to list, accounting, items, new, or you can also create a new item directly from your view page. Now here are the different item types that I've shown you previously as well. Now you'll see a matrix item option available as well. So matrix items are your regular items as well, but it's akin to something you want to create multiple items or sub items for one group. So like in case of your apparels or clothing, you have multiple sizes and multiple colors for the same type. So you create a parent item and then you create a matrix of multiple sizes and colors, and it will create a complete matrix of all the child items. And you can use the main parent item to update child items as well and manage those items and track your sales and inventory accordingly as well. Now, let's look at an inventory item and see how to create an item in NetSuite. So we're going to just go through the inventory item page and look through most of the common fields associated with it and see how we can create an item. So first up, you give your item SKU, and this is your SKU code for your item. So something like 6. And next up would be your sub item of, if you have a parent child hierarchy, you give those the name of the parent item over here. Next up would be your display name. So let me put in and any vendor name or code associated with it. If your vendor uses separate name, you can add an over here. Next up, you can select the subsidiaries of your item, which subsidiaries are going to be using this item, and add a node there, select a class, and add a location for your item. Now, this location would help to minimize or restrict your employees. Only the employees relevant to that location would be able to add those items to any of the transactions. Next up are unit types. Now, unit types are different units. You can is a very important feature as well. So you can create multiple units in NetSuite. So in case, let's say we want your purchasing in cases or multiple units, but you sell those items individually. What you can do is you can create multiple units of measure and use them on your NetSuite items. So you can purchase in a different unit and sell in a different unit. You can give the conversion rates in your units of measure, and using those, the NetSuite system will quantify how much quantity you've got and accordingly can maintain your inventory as well as define how your sales goes. So to access your units of measure, you can go to your list, accounting, and units of measure. So you can see we have got a few units of measure already created. Let's look at any of one, say case. So what we have defined here is that the base unit is a case, and another unit is pallet, which has 40 cases per pallet. So if I can purchase any item in multiples of pallets, but I can sell them individually as case. I can even include or change the base unit to an individual item over here, and it can have, let's say, 12 units per case, and then 40 cases, or in that case, if the conversion rate always has to be based on the base unit. So if I have got one item in or 12 item in a case and 10 items in a 10 cases in a pallet, then the pallet would be 120 in that case. So we can define different units of measure and apply them on the item type. So let's say I'm purchasing in cases, and my primary stock unit, it might be in pallets, but I'm purchasing pallets, but my primary sale unit can be in cases. Next up, you've got the purchasing inventory tab. Here you can define your purchase description and stock description. Here you can also use the NetSuite AI to generate your purchasing description based on the rest of the data you have input for your item, and the NetSuite AI would help you generate a sample purchase description that you can add it later on as well. You select your cost categories and your default purchase price that you want to enable on your purchase orders, transfer price for your transfer orders. Next up is your costing method. NetSuite has multiple costing methods available: average, FIFO, LIFO, and standard. I'm not going to go into the basics of each one, which will take a bit of more time, but you can select different costing methods. If you want more on this, we can tackle this later on in the session. Next up, you've got a few other options called drop ship and special order item. Now, if you want to drop ship your item directly from your vendor to your customer, you can mark an item as a drop ship item. And whenever you create a sales transaction for it, a relevant purchase order would also be created. Similarly, is a special order item, wherein if you don't want to keep an inventory of the item with you, but you want to create a purchase order as soon as an order is received, you create it as a special order item. And when you do receive a sales transaction for it, it will create a relevant purchase order with it. Now, in case of dropship item or special order item, you also need to make sure that you have added a preferred vendor for your for this item. So you need to select a vendor and a purchase price for this whenever you create a special order or purchase order item. Another one is track landed cost. If you want to track your landed cost for your item, make sure that you mark this as true for any item that you want to track. Next up is use bins. Use bins can, if you are using bins and tracking inventory from bins as well, you can mark it true and use bins accordingly. We are going to be conducting another separate session on inventory for your demand planning and resource acquisitions. So I'm not going to go into detail on how your purchase lead times or how NetSuite calculates your demands, but there are multiple options available to us. By making use of that, we can create an inventory plan for purchases as well. Next up, we have got manufacturer details. You can input in manufacturer detail where the particular item was created or who is the manufacturer for it. And next up, we have got vendor bill matching. Here you can put in your difference tolerances, etc. for your item. So anything outside of these tolerance level, if you create a bill that do not match your purchase order out and the tolerance level is more than that, then the NetSuite will flag you or let you know that this bill is outside your tolerance range before you make any payments for this item. Next up, you've got vendors as well. You can add a vendor on your item page itself and specify a vendor price on it. So let's say you add in X vendor. So you can also add the purchase price associated for this vendor that he is assigned for you. And using that, so anytime you raise a purchase order for this particular vendor, the particular price would be used on. Next up, we've got the sales subtab. Similar to how with purchase description, you can give a sales description over here that can be included on your sales transaction side of things. And you can also generate the same using the NetSuite AI if all your rest of the details are in. Next up, you have got cost estimation types. This can be used for your item cost profitability check while you're creating your sales transactions. You can add in your item weights and packaging description as well. Next up is pricing. You can add in multiple price levels in NetSuite and also give particular discount based on how much quantity is being sold and use that for your pricing. Next up is your accounting subtab. Now this is an important one. Here you've got multiple relevant accounts that you can set up and use that to track your inventory, sales, and COGS account. Now make sure that you ensure that these are correctly set up. These can also be defaulted from your accounting preferences and will update accordingly whenever you create a new item. Next up is your tax schedule. You can set up your tax schedules and create your items based on that. So these are the major fields and that you need to update before you create an inventory item. So once you've done everything, you've set up your item, you can save it, and that will create your inventory items. Let's take a look at some of the inventory transactions. Next, to go to inventory related transactions, you go to transactions, inventory, and here you can see a bunch of transactions related to inventory. Now, one of the important ones is adjust inventory, which is your inventory adjustments. Now, in case there's a mismatch between your physical inventory and what NetSuite is showing up on your inventory tree for the item, what you do is you go ahead and create an inventory adjustment so that the both whether the warehouse quantity as well as the quantity shown in your NetSuite account matches. What you do is you create inventory adjustments. So you select your subsidiary and then your adjustment account. So there would be a variance cost due to your adjustment, inventory adjustment. So make sure you add in your adjustment account, your adjustment location for where you want to create the adjustment, and just add in the item. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the inventory by 15 units and you can add in the cost of unit cost and see. So pretty straightforward and simple. Next up, we have got two ways to transfer inventory from one location to another. One is transfer inventory and another is a transfer order. Now, transfer inventory is an instantaneous movement from one location to another, whereas a transfer order is a complete process wherein your sending warehouse would have to fulfill the items and ship it out. Then your receiving locations would have to create an item receipt and receive those items in the warehouse, and only then would the process be completed. So you can specify your transfer price. The same price that you entered on your item page can be used, or your average cost can also be included based on how you set it up. Now, transfer inventory, as I mentioned, is instantaneous. It will switch uh, your inventory from one location to another. So it's mostly used in case you're using virtual locations or multiple locations that do not really require you to fulfill inventory from one location to another. You can add that. Similarly, you can create a transfer order as well. As I mentioned, a transfer order would require you to fulfill the item as well as receive the items. So there are a few more inventory related transactions like inventory count, where you can count your inventory, physical inventory, and update it accordingly on regular intervals, or revalue inventory costs, which if you use standard costing methods, you can revalue your inventory using these transactions. Similarly, I've been put away worksheet bin transfers. These are used if you're using bins. So next up, let's look at some of the relevant reports for your inventory as well. To go to your native reports available, go to your reports subtab and go to inventory/items. Here you'll find there are multiple reports on inventory available to you. One up is inventory profitability, current inventory snapshot, which will let you know what your current inventory in the system is for different items. Or your inventory profitability report, inventory valuation reports, revenue reports. So there are multiple reports available by default in NetSuite, and you can use those to gather the intelligence that you want on your items and your sales. Here you'll also find your inventory backorder report as well. So if you want to check your what's on your backorder or inventory activity, what changes were made in your inventory, what kind of sales or additions were made to your inventory in a specified time period. So those are the major things I wanted to cover on the NetSuite side of things. Let me switch back to the PPT. Give me a sec. So we have had a look at different item types and seen how an item record is created in NetSuite. We've seen a few inventory movement or transfer report transactions, some of the inventory reports. Next up, what are the best practices for creating items? So make sure you create your correct items with the correct item type. So changing item types is difficult and in most cases is not doable. If once you've created the transactions, they are going to stay in the system. So make sure you create your item types in the correct way. Next up is proper count setup. Once you create and associate transactions with your item, changing accounts will impact how your reports work, how uh, your historical transactions are there. So those get affected with your account setup. So you can change those later on as well, but they would have an impact. So consistent naming is another one. So keeping a consistent naming would help everyone in your team realize what kind of item it is or how an item is supposed to be added or not. So keeping a consistent naming helps your team and yourself keep track better of your items. Next up is avoid unnecessary adjustments. Make sure you only make adjustments when it's necessary. Creating regular adjustments it shows that there's a fault in the process that you're following up. So look at the reason why it's occurring and correct those. Okay, next up, let's see some of the FAQs. Now, these questions come up often, so let's look at those. Can I delete an item once created? You cannot delete an item once there are transaction posted to the item itself. So you'd have to delete the transaction itself before you can delete any transactions. So the best practice would be you inactivate an item if it's no longer in use, but deleting an item would be a lengthy and difficult process. Can I convert one item type into another later? In some cases you can create and use a non-inventory item to an inventory item, but it's not the best practice. You should ensure that you create correct item types while you are setting it up. If in case you need to switch item types later on, the better way would be you inactivate the previous item and create a new item and transfer your inventory from one item to the new item using inventory adjustments. Next up, when should you use an assembly versus kit versus group? So assembly items you need to create in case you want to keep track of the inventory separately. Only in that case should you be creating assembly items. Otherwise, go with kit or group items. So in kit items, the advantage is you do not need to keep a separate inventory. Kit items keep the inventory from the component items only, but you are allowed to give it a separate income account or sales account and use that for your reporting purposes. As well as the benefit with kit items is you can give a separate pricing for it as well, a sales pricing. But the next up is group items. So this is pretty much in case you have multiple items that are sold together almost always, and you want to create a group for that. And in that scenario, it helps your sales team to add in all the items in one go using a group item. Next up, can I apply a landed cost for the kit or group items? Now, you cannot apply a landed cost on kit or group items. This is because they do not have their own inventory. The inventory is with the individual component items. So there's no concept of adding any landed cost on the kit or group itself. Individual component items get the landed cost associated with them. Okay, next up, uh, if you like the session today and would like to follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, or Instagram, please scan the codes. Or if you want to visit our website, please feel free to scan the code for that. Next up, we'll open the floor for any of your questions.
Yep, there is one from my side, Bhavya. Thanks for detailed session. Other than the pricing differences you mentioned for all the item type, like the group item and kit item and assembly item, what are other differences we can see in all those items? And is there any real-time scenario you can explain to us that if in that scenario you should go with that particular item only and not mix it with other item type? Otherwise there will be a lot of challenges and something like that. And that will be really helpful.
Yep. So assembly items are mainly used in manufacturing side of things. So if you are using multiple component items to create a new assembly items and you are tracking the inventory of those assembly items, you always go with assembly items. Or in case, even if you're purchasing something which is an assembled item, which you use the components as well separately, you would uh, let's say debuild it as well and use the components in certain scenarios. In those scenarios, you can create assembly items. Assembly items keep their own inventory. You can track different costs associated with it. So let's say you manufacture an item. So you would have the individual cost of the component items as well as costs of labor that you have spent manufacturing, your plant cost, all those costs you want to associate with the item itself as well. So you create an assembly item in those scenarios. Now, kits are relatively something you see on your bundled items that you can see. So let's say you want to create a bundle of multiple items together, which you give a separate pricing for. So let's say you want to sell a computer, you sell different components of a computer separately. You sell a mouse, you sell a keyboard, you sell a monitor screen, and you sell a CPU. Now you bundle it together and you want to sell it at, let's say, 5% of a different pricing, or you give a specific pricing for that kit or bundle. So in those scenarios, you use a kit. But let's say you are just adding in multiple items or components that use their individual pricing. You're not giving any separate pricing. You are not maintaining a separate inventory. You use a group item. It's just you have clubbed together multiple items in one go so that it's easier for your sales team or your customers to purchase those things together.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you, Bhavya. Thank you for explaining
Yep,
in detail.
sure. Steph, I think the issue with matrix item is it's an add-on. So you would have to check on your enabled features if the matrix item is available in your account or not. If it's available, you need to check the checkbox under enable features, and you'll be able to see matrix items on your item creation page. Any, yes, Vishal, go ahead.
Okay, so thanks, Bhavya. So I just wanted to understand more about the markup items. Means any real-time scenario
Yes,
where we
sure.
use those.
Mhm. So markup items are similar to your discount items, but instead of decreasing the price, it would increase the price for your item. So in case, let's say there's a shortage of the items, like we have got shortage of petrol right now, you can have shortage of an item. So it's not a constant thing. So this is a temporary thing. Currently, your stock is running low, and any sales you want to make it at a premium. You want to charge more to your customers. So you can add a markup item which would increase the price, selling price of the item just preceding it. So when you add a markup item, if it's for percentage or a whole number, you add that cost to the prevailing item before it, just before it.
Okay.
So
Okay,
it's
no
mainly
problem.
used to increase the prices. Real world scenarios would be if there's a shortage going on, if you have only got three quantities or limited edition of an item going on, and you want to increase those prices, use a markup item.
Okay. No
Mhm.
problem. So there's one more. So
Mhm.
there are multiple items type like non-inventory service and or
Mhm.
charge item, right?
Mhm.
So can we use one another means can we replace those?
So basically, they
Mhm.
are set up in a very similar fashion. There's not much difference in the way they behave in NetSuite, but NetSuite categorizes them as separate in the way I've explained previously as well. So service items are items or services that you offer to your customer or you take from your vendors. So something akin to your repair charges, or you send out a person and you charge for his time, or you provide some services, consultation services, or help, or go on calls with your clients. All those type of charges or costs you want to charge your customer, you want to create them as service items. Other charges are incident charges or charges that are only applied once, something like a warranty or something akin to a one-time charge called your freight or anything else that you just charge once, or is a block charge you create it as a charge item. Now, non-inventory items are simply physical items that you do not want to keep a track of. The quantity do not matter to you. So something like packaging items, or if you are selling in bulk, you don't
Mhm.
really want to keep track and inventory of. So physical items that you do not want to keep inventory of, you create as non-inventory items.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, go ahead,
Thanks.
Lakshmi.
Hi, Bhavya. So I have a
Lakshmi.
question.
Mhm.
Yep. Could you please explain about what special order items are?
So special order items are items that you do not want to keep in your inventory, but you still want to track when you purchase or sell them. So something like a very expensive piece of equipment. Now you've got a vendor for that and you sell that, but you do not want to keep this in inventory as it's very costly and pricey. So what you do is you create it as a special order item. So whenever you receive an order from your customer, you relevant as soon as you create a sales transaction in the system, a purchase order would be created in the system as well. So you purchase the item from your vendor, and as soon as you receive it, you fulfill it to your customer. So to streamline the process in NetSuite, we can mark the item as special order item. So you would be keeping the inventory of that item, but whenever a sales transaction is created for it, a relevant purchase order would also be created simultaneously.
Like a dropship.
Yeah, similar to dropship. Now, dropship is your vendor directly sending the items to your
Okay.
customer. But in special order item, the vendor would be sending the item to you, and
Okay.
then you would be the one fulfilling it to your customer.
Okay.
So
Got it.
similar concept, but a difference in process.
Got it. Thanks, Bhavya.
Sure thing. Anyone else? Any other queries? Okay, I think that's it. I thank all of you for your time today. It's been a pleasure. Yes, anything else?
No, Bhavya, I think that's perfect. We are on time, and I don't think we have any other questions coming up, so we can end it. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out to us, and we can cater to your questions.
Perfect. Thanks, Bhavya. Thanks, everyone.